Hello friends, today we're doing something fun. Most of the time my video concepts are determined by my TBR, but today's is simply not. Today's video is determined by the fact that I gotta skip the line copy for Tusk Love, which is not a book that I would really ever want to read. Like, I don't really like monster books, but like, even if I give this book 1 star, the way that I want it on my bookshelf anyway, there's very few books that like I'll give a low rating to and still keep on my shelf. But this is one because today we're reading nerdy books, okay? And I think that one is really the #1 nerdy book, because basically, if you don't know, you're living under a rock or you're not in the hobby, I am an avid board gamer, RPG, TCG. I'm a gamer, okay? We're gaming at all times if we can. And so if you know anything about RPGs or D&D, you're aware of Critical Role, okay? And from the information that I have, during their campaign 3, there was a running like story, little like gag that became canon in their story, that one of the player characters read smutty orc romances. So after the campaign ended, they wrote the book Tusk Love and published it. And I just think that that is such a fun concept. That's just so fun to me. I love that they did that. And so I'm excited to listen to the audio, and I have a skip the line copy, so I'm like, okay, well, we need to read that ASAP. What other nerdy books do we have? And I happen to have quite a few. So what else are we reading in this video? We have got, or should I tell you what Tusk Love is even about? I think I'm not going to, because I feel like I always tell you in the beginning and then I like read the description and then I also tell you again when I read it. But I'll just give you like a little blurb. This is about our main character Kenya, and she cosplays. And so we've got the Love Con by Seressia Glass. Then we have got Role Playing by Cathy Yardley, which is about playing D&D RPG. Can see like all of like the minis on the table, and I think that the characters in this are like 40, which is awesome. It's very uncommon. And then what I'm most excited about, this is a new book, and it's called Roll for Romance by Lenora Woods. It obviously has all of the dice everywhere. 2 fledgling tabletop gamers find themselves falling for each other both in and out of their weekly D&D sessions in this charming fantasy-tinged romance. So these are the books we're gonna read. I'm obviously gonna start with Tusk Love because I do have the audio for it, like right now. So, toodles. Also, I'm not gonna start this today because I'm like actively working on a virtual D&D campaign that I'm gonna be jamming, and I'm very excited, but I can't focus on audiobooks while I'm doing that. But I will probably listen to it over the weekend while I'm working. Let me see how many days I have left in there. I might have to pause the book I'm currently reading. 2 days. It's only 9 hours. Okay, yeah, I'll probably listen to it tomorrow. So should be fine. Should be fine. You know what I'm saying? It's currently 9:30 a.m. I have to get this read by 5:30. I only have 8 hours left. I'm listening to it on 3 times speed, so it should be fine, but let's go. Okay guys, I don't know what book. This book I'm gonna listen to and the other 2 I'm gonna read physically. I don't know what we're gonna get to when, but I am gonna be listening to this sometime this week. That's all I gotta say about that. But I did finish listening to Tusk Love, and oh my god. So this is about Guinevere and Oscar. And Oscar is an orc and Guinevere is like this princess, and he is basically, he's kind of like Shrek, where he is escorting her to go get married. And they have this trunk that they're bringing with them that Guinevere has some sort of magic that's kind of very frowned upon. Nobody wants to do her magic. It's very dangerous, but Oscar's not afraid of her magic. And so he is transporting her. Obviously, they're starting to fall for each other. They may or may not have sex a million times on their travels. And then he brings her to her betrothed, thinking that like she's better off this way. And Then there's some plot twists at the end. I quite enjoyed it for what it was. I think if it wasn't for the lore of it being Critical Role, I probably would have given it a 2, but I did give it a 3. I had a fun time with it. I really liked it. I for sure want to get a copy of it physically to put on my bookshelves for like the memento of the book. But it was a really fun story, and the one thing I loved about it is that it is not a series. I have dabbled in romantasy. I've read Fourth Wing, I've read Quicksilver, I've read Shield of Sparrows, I read Rose in Chains, and I feel like a lot of the times with fantasy, first off, I have aphantasia, so like I don't visualize anything when I read, so I do have a very hard time visualizing things. But I think with this book, because it takes place in like a D&D world, and that's something I do understand, it made more sense to me. Like the terms they were using and the way the story progressed worked for me, kind of already being familiar with that type of world. Additionally, I feel a lot of the times with these romantasy series, I am so painfully bored by world building. Again, I'm not visualizing any of this, so you're literally like saying the words and it's going like this across my brain and out the other ear. And in most series, it's a series, so book 1 is really setting up that plot, building that background, doing all these things that are necessary to make the next books great, and I just like literally don't give a shit. So because this was just like a silly little 300-page book, absolutely worked for me. 3 stars. Quite enjoyed it indeed, and I'm glad that I didn't hate it, because the first hour I was like, I don't know, I don't really know what's going on, but then I like honed in and I had quite a good time with it. I do actually recommend. It's not usually my kind of thing, but I do recommend. But I'm also like deeply in my D&D era right now, so that could be why I'm really loving it. I think it's something that you have to like be into D&D or like know/like Critical Role to really give a shit about, but I had fun. Okay guys, I'm about halfway through, I'm a little over halfway through the Love Con, and I'm actually really liking this. So we have our female character Kenya, and we have our male character, what's his name? Cam. Kenya and Cam. And so Kenya has like a, I think like fancy degree. Yeah, she's a degree in STEM, and her parents are not very supportive of her trying to make a go at doing this cosplaying career. They paid for her college degree and they're pissed that she's doing this. Her best friend Cam, he owns like a fabrications shop. He's really into the whole cosplaying thing as well. She is on this reality show where she is cosplaying, and she's already kind of looked down upon on the show because she's a woman of color and she's plus size. And so a lot of people are trying to stereotype her as a bunch of different like racial stereotypes, and she's trying so hard to combat that. They're going into the final challenge of the competition where they're told they're gonna have to do like famous duos, and that they're gonna have to do this with a partner. And she kind of lies and says that her friend Cameron is her like significant other. Cameron's secretly hype about this because he's had a crush on Kenya for forever, so he's like very gladly playing along, and we're just watching them go through trying to navigate this fake relationship where they both actually have feelings for each other, and like them doing this competition, which I obviously as a nerdy girl find very fun. And so far it's so cute. Like he just keeps doing all these like little like sending her flowers, getting her the gummies that she likes, getting her like this and that, like to make her day better, taking care of her. She like burnt her finger on a glue gun, and he like, oh, it's just been all so cutesy and sweet. I think it's probably gonna be a 4-star, but I'm really enjoying it and I'm excited to continue on. You guys, I fear it has been multiple weeks. It's now September 20th, 19th, whatever, since I've updated you, and I have been actively trying to read this on my Kindle, and I just can't do it. And I'm very depressed about it because I thought this was going to be a 5-star, and I've been like in a pretty big slump for the last month or so. And I was like, okay, this is for sure going to get me out of the slump. It's going to be great. The writing is driving me nuts. It feels kind of like a waste, and I'm only 20% in. It feels kind of like a waste though, because I did use one of my Everand unlocks on this book, and I'm gonna listen to the whole thing on audio today and be done with it because I can't take it into any more days. So I can tell you what it's about. We have our main character, Sadie, and she's kind of going through it. She got fired from her job, and her life's basically, she's miserable. Her gay best friend is like, come stay with me for a bit till you get back on your feet, and he starts this D&D group of all new people. There's this guy, Liam. He met him at, or no, he is Liam. There's this guy, Noah, who works at like a new bar in town, who he invited to the D&D group. Him and Sadie are obviously the love interests. The thing is as somebody who loves D&D, I was excited for this to be like a romance book where they play D&D, blah, blah, blah. Love that. What I don't love is how deep we're getting into the lore of their D&D campaign. Like, I don't need actual, like pages and pages of text of what's going on in the campaign. I don't care. And that's somebody who loves D&D. I'm bored. It bothers me that our main character's D&D character's name is Jaylee, because that just seems like such a trendy name for a D&D character. I don't know why. It's driving me nuts. Another thing that's driving me a bit bonkers is that we will be reading paragraphs of like what's going on, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then there's like these little breaks with like a D20. I don't know if you guys can see that. In between sections, sometimes it just continues on with the story. Sometimes those breaks, all of a sudden we're transitioning into the campaign. It's just like not smooth the way it's written, and it's literally driving me nuts. So we're gonna go listen to the audiobook on Everand. It's like 11 hours long or some shit. So it's 11 a.m., 11:30. I'm gonna be working probably until like 6, so I'll definitely get it finished. But I can't bring this book into another day. I really can't. It's making me miserable. At this rate, I will be shocked if it even gets a 3-star, which makes me very, very sad because I want to love it so bad. Okay guys, we're about to start role-playing. In an absolute shocking turn of events, I did end up giving this book 4 stars. Which, last time we chatted, I was not really enjoying this. I started it completely over, and I obviously didn't, it's not like a perfect book for me, because I still do find the whole story of line of their D&D campaign. If you don't know, in D&D you have this campaign, and it's like, basically, I describe D&D to people who don't know anything about it. Like, you're basically being plopped in as a character in a fantasy story, and I don't think we needed the amount of detail that was in here about their D&D campaign. I don't think it added enough to the story for me to care. But I did much prefer it on audio. So there's that, and now we're gonna get into role-playing, which I think this is about some like late 40-year-olds, like 48-year-old, yeah. Which I'm very excited to read about. Older, not like, obviously 48 is not old, but compared to most books being people who are like 21, I am very excited. This is another D&D themed romance. I'm going to check in with you guys when I'm about halfway done, but I'm gonna go listen to this on audio. This was not even, none of my libraries have this book, so I am gonna listen to it on Everand while I work. It's 3 o'clock. I should finish this. I'm probably gonna work till like 8 o'clock tonight, so I should be able to finish the audio book for that. Turns out I was incorrect about what this book is about. Okay, so in this book we've got our main girl here, Maggie, and our main guy here, Aiden. Maggie is a divorced woman who is 48, and Aiden is a single guy who's 50. And Maggie's son is going off to college. He's at college. He's very like socially awkward, has a really hard time making friends, and he is struggling with that super hard, as well as she's kind of struggling with being like an empty nester. She also is very awkward, and she's tried while he was at home to push past that for his sake, but now that she's alone, she's basically barely leaving the house. She works from home, so on and so forth. So her and her son kind of make this deal that if she gets out of the house and does something and tries to make friends, he will too. So it starts out as something she's doing to try to make friends. One of her like neighborhood people, like her son's friend's mom, invites her to this book club. She goes, she hates it, and along the lines, somebody basically is like, oh, they're talking about video games, and she's very into like It's giving World of Warcraft. It's giving something like that. And so she's very into these like online games. And somebody's like, this older lady who is there, I believe, at the book club is like, oh yeah, like my so-and-so, or this lady's like so-and-so's son, like has like, who's in college son, does like this thing, you want like me to see if like they can invite you? And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever, it gives me something to do. So she in her head thinks that this is like some 21-year-old kid and a bunch of kids, whatever. She joins them and she just keeps making jokes that she's an old lady, she's old enough to be their mother. Little does she know, most of them are like 20, 21. But the guy who invited her, the woman's son, is actually 50-year-old Aiden. They happen to stumble across each other at this party, this football party. They don't really speak, they just see each other. And they start to develop like a really close friendship, texting, because she doesn't have anybody else in their guild's phone number. So they start texting, they start hanging out, and I just got to the point where they realized who each other was. There's also this underlying storyline where Maggie's mom is Korean, I believe, and she has basically her whole life, like her mom died, I think, yeah, her mom died, and she was raised by like her dad and her dad's family, and they wanted to really shut out everything about her Asian heritage, and she's trying to really reclaim that. There's a lot of like cooking involved, and it's making me so hungry, but I don't think this is a spoiler. Our main guy, he like hurts his foot or breaks his foot. He's in like a cast, and she, as a mom, thinking that this is a college student, is like, oh, I can bring you lunch, and he's like, yeah. And that's when she learns who he is, and now she's kind of freaking out because it was fine to have a friendship with this kid because there was no expectation of it ever turning into something, but now that she knows it's this 50-year-old guy, she's like, oh my god, what do I do? So I am really liking it. I'm enjoying reading from some older characters, and yeah, pretty hyped to continue. I'll definitely finish it today. You guys, we finished this, which means after like an entire month, we're done with this video. And I'm pretty happy to report back that I gave all of these books 4 stars. This book ended up being so cute. There are some reveals and some like really important talks about self-discovery, especially at an older age, and acceptance in a small town, and I really enjoyed this, and I gave it it had a lot of talk about people being like intolerant to different races, different sexualities, and how it's like so harmful to those people in your life. And it was just really good, and I quite enjoyed it. I think this is actually my ranking. I think I read my least favorite one first and my most favorite one last. I think I like role-playing best, then roll for romance, and then the love con. And it's actually fun that they ended up being all different types of gaming books. This one is online gaming, we've got D&D, and then, well, nerdy things, and this is cosplaying. So I really enjoyed this. If you guys have any more book suggestions in this realm, I've read both Dungeons and Drama and Dating and Dragons by Kirsty Boyce. Those are like YA romances, but I'm always down for more things up this alley. So let me know down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!